And for more on Trump's foreign policy, we're joined now by Peter Humphrey. He's a former diplomat and international affairs expert. Great to have you on the program, Peter. Firstly, how would you overall characterise what you think will be Donald Trump's foreign policy stance?
America's primary foreign policy goal is stability in the world, even if that means dealing with some very questionable leaders. After stability, we think about things like human rights, self-determination, anti-crime, anti-drugs, free trade. Donald Trump is a very transactional type of person. You do this for me, I do this for you. Transactional people tend to look at the world less concerned with values and more with the art of the deal, which happens to be the title of his famous book. As such, he's going to be willing to deal with some very, very bad leaders around the world in hopes of getting a deal that preserves stability and benefits the American people, or perhaps the other way around, benefits the American people and coincidentally preserves stability. So that's his worldview, a deal. Making a deal so that there is a transaction between the two parties concerned and both parties can claim that they gained something. This will be very interesting when it comes to places like the South China Sea or North Korea or even the Middle East.
His position is
right
to put
now, the
America...
talks in Austin...
Sorry. His position is to put America first, and you know, his pledge to step out of the TPP has obviously gotten off to a hot start, and we know what Trump wants to do for America with that. He wants to bring back jobs, but what could the potential negative knock-on effects be for the US, but also abroad?
Well, the many analysts in Washington, myself included, many Republicans view the departure from TPP with great skepticism, because we all know that once you create a vacuum, somebody else is going to fill it. And it is absolutely inevitable that China will try to create a trade regime in which it dominates at the expense of the US. So many of us view this as, we say, shooting ourselves in the foot. The other problem is when he looks at other trade deals and wants to renegotiate other trade deals and considers reestablishing tariffs, this again may be an example of shooting ourselves in the foot, because as soon as we do that, the other countries are going to set up their own tariffs as a way to fight back. And as soon as that happens, as soon as that snowball starts rolling down the hill, the stock market collapses, and Donald Trump is in big trouble.
And you mentioned some of the other policies that he's pledged. Are there any areas that we can expect him to come down on his campaign promises? We mentioned the Iran deal, also building the wall. Anything you think that he won't be able to push through?
Building the wall is going to be problematic because it's not necessarily the best way to control immigration. If you build a wall, people can dig tunnels at night under the wall. There is a modern equivalent. It's sort of a large barbed wire fence with many electronic sensors that may actually be cheaper and somewhat more effective. It also has the benefit of letting small animals cross the frontier. If you build a real wall, you stop all sorts of migratory species from doing what they have to do. And that's against American regulations. So I suspect Donald Trump will get a wall, not quite what he expected, and that it will improve the efficiency of stopping illegal immigration. His concern is not anti-Mexican, it is anti-illegal immigration, because there are other nations coming across that border as well. There are Chinese who show up in Mexico coming across that border. We have found Korans and prayer rugs in the deserts in Arizona and New Mexico. So his concern is illegal immigration. It is not anti-Latin Americanism.
So perhaps the wall is more symbolic than anything else. Finally, what about NATO? Trump has called the organisation obsolete.
When you put America first, it means you'll talk to your friends in the EU, in ASEAN, in NATO, but their opinion may not have the weight that it once had under other administrations. So I think that's the real net effect, is that their opinion will be less. And we will rely on them less for coordinated action. If Donald Trump feels that something has to be done, He'll spend a little bit of time trying to get the allies on board. But if they're not on board, it's go America solo or go with one or two friends. That's the most likely outcome.
Okay, Peter, thanks so much for your time today. Peter Humphrey there, diplomat and international affairs expert.